Welcome to The Explainer. You know, if you've ever looked at the world of AI and thought it's just a giant tangled mess of parts that don't talk to each other, well, you're not wrong. Today, we're going to untangle that mess by looking at a potential solution, the Model Context Protocol. It's basically a new standard that's trying to be the universal connector for everything in AI. Let's dive in.
Okay, so first, let's talk about the problem we're trying to solve. In a perfect world, a developer has one AI model, one tool, and a nice clean connection between them. Simple, right? But the reality? Oh, the reality is a chaotic spiderweb. You've got tons of different AI models and even more tools, and every single connection has to be custom built. It's a total nightmare of complexity, and it's seriously holding the entire industry back.
And this messy situation has a name. People call it the adapter maze. Just think about it. Every time a new model from a company like Anthropic or Google drops, or a new tool like a CRM gets popular, developers have to roll up their sleeves and build brand new one-off digital plumbing just to get them to talk to each other. It slows everything down to a crawl and makes the idea of scaling up feel almost impossible.
So you have to ask, how do we get out of this mess? I mean, if we really want AI to grow up from simple chatbots into truly powerful, integrated agents that can do complex tasks, we just can't keep building these fragile, custom connections. There's got to be a better way, right? A more universal approach?
Well, the solution is a new standard. And honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is with a super simple analogy. Just think of it like USB-C for AI. Remember the old days? You had that junk drawer full of a dozen different chargers for your phone, your camera, your laptop. It was a disaster. Now we've got one standard connector that just works for almost everything. That is exactly what this new protocol is trying to do for AI models and tools.
So what is this USB-C for AI actually called? Well, that brings us to the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. This is the universal connector that's designed to finally tame all of that complexity.
At its heart, MCP is like a universal language for AI. And the really crucial part is that it's an open standard. It's not owned by any one company. That creates a level playing field. It means any model can talk to any tool without needing a custom translator built every single time. You build the connection once and boom, it just works everywhere.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. A universal connector sounds great, a little bit like magic even. But how does it actually work under the hood? Let's break down the process, which is actually surprisingly logical.
It really all boils down to a pretty simple three-step dance. First, the agent plans what it needs to do. Something like, I need to find the latest sales numbers. Then it discovers the right tool for that job by asking an MCP server, hey, what tool can get me sales data? And finally, it executes the task, using that standard protocol to call the tool and get the result. Plan, discover, execute. It's that straightforward.
So what makes this all tick? Well, MCP is really built on four key pillars. First, there's a standard vocabulary, which is basically a common API so everyone's speaking the same language. Second, it enables discovery, so a server can advertise what it can do, which tools it has, what they cost, who can use them. Third, it supports multiple transports. You can think of these as different internet connection types for maximum flexibility. And maybe most importantly, it has built-in security hooks to handle things like authentication and user consent right from the start.
All right, so theory is great and all, but let's talk about what this actually enables in the real world. How does standardizing all these connections really change the game for building AI apps? The benefits here are, well, they're huge. You get much faster integration since you're not writing tons of boilerplate code. For bigger companies, having centralized governance is an absolute game changer. Imagine managing all your security policies and permissions in one spot. And all of this leads to a way more consistent user experience where the AI just feels seamlessly connected and secure. Let's make this really concrete. Picture an AI assistant for your company. With MCP, that single agent could tap into your Salesforce CRM, pull a report, then jump over to your internal wiki to find a related document, and then search Google Drive, all without your developers having to write a single line of custom code for each connection. It just works.
Or, hey, for all you developers out there, imagine a coding assistant in your IDE. Through a standard MCP interface, it could do real work for you. Run tests, search your entire project for a function, maybe even create commits. This isn't just fancy autocomplete, it's a real productivity boost.
But you knew this was coming, right? Like any really powerful technology, MCP isn't some magic bullet. Creating a universal connector also means creating new challenges and potential weak spots that we absolutely have to think about.
So, what's the catch here?
A universal connector for everything sounds amazing, but it also sounds like it could be a single point of failure. If everything can talk to everything else so easily, what kind of new risks does that open us up to?
You've really got three main risks to keep an eye on. There's prompt injection, which is basically a malicious tool trying to trick the AI into doing something bad. You've got tool spoofing, where a fake tool pretends to be a real one to steal data. And for big companies, there's just the sheer enterprise complexity of managing it all. The good news is the protocol is being designed with this stuff in mind, and there are clear ways to fight back, like whitelisting trusted tools and building really strong security into the core framework.
So let's bring this all together and zoom out for the big picture. What does a standard like MCP really mean for the future of how we all build with AI?
Well, the key takeaway is knowing when it makes sense to use MCP. Are you building a massive enterprise system with tons of different AI models where security and governance are critical? Then, yeah, MCP is exactly what you need. But if you're just hooking up one simple model to one tool for a small project, it might be overkill, at least for now.
And make no mistake, MCP is not just a theory on a whiteboard. It was introduced as an open standard by Anthropic, and it's already picking up steam. Toolmakers are getting on board, major platforms are starting to build in support, the momentum is real, and it's growing fast.
And ultimately, if there's one thing to remember, it's this. Even if you're starting small today, adopting a standard like MCP prepares your entire architecture for a much more complex, multi-model future. It literally future-proofs your work, so you don't have to tear everything down and rebuild it from scratch a year from now.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. MCP is creating a universal standard for AI tools, which is amazing. But as AI gets more and more interconnected, you have to wonder, what's the next part of the AI stack that is desperately crying out for its own USB-C moment? That's something for all of us to think about.